Morning everyone, and welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog, where we discuss all things entrepreneurship and running. It's another beautiful morning, sun's out, it's fairly fresh, it's about 2-3 degrees outside, winter running conditions, and it's a Thursday Tales today, where we discuss past experiences in business. And today's topic is about planning for the year ahead. So as always, if you like this video, please give it a like and a subscribe, and let's get started. So, planning for the year ahead. Well, I'm actually a week before Christmas here, but as these videos are published 2 weeks after recording date, this will be going out on New Year's Eve. So it's a very relevant topic. It's about planning for the year ahead, and this is something that it's really important you get this right, or try and get it right, or have a process for dealing with this, because if you plan it ineffectively, you're almost starting the year on the back foot. And if you get this right, it can be the catalyst for a great year. And I can't emphasize that point strong enough. I mean, when the great Abraham Lincoln said, "You give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend 4 hours sharpening my axe." So there's enough, 2/3 of your time should ultimately be spent on planning. That's what that statement says. So when you're planning for a year ahead, it's vital you give it the right amount of time. Now, I've done this well in the past, and I've done it appalling in the past. I mean, if we look back to the last year, at the beginning of last year, I mean, this year's been a bit of a exception with COVID and everything that's kind of happened. But overall, I've been very, very reactive, and I've managed to kind of pull together a pretty impressive year, considering. But it wasn't planned effectively, and it was quite stressful. There's quite a lot of things that have gone wrong, some big emotional battles, some big changes. Okay, and like I say, I think last year's an exception, but when I look back to the beginning of the year, when we were planning, I was co-owner of Systems and Outsourcing. I've separated from that business now. I was still obviously heavily involved. I still had my property business, but that was it. There were the two businesses. I get to the end of the year now, I have 6 businesses. You could argue, 6 businesses. We've got Property Empire Investments, which is my property deal sourcing business. I've got Property Empire Builder, which is my property education business. We have my property portfolio. We have my Runpreneur vlog, which has created its own social media content repurposing agency. We have Property Empire Construction and Maintenance, which is a construction and maintenance business, and we have Property Empire Holdings. So that's quite a dramatic change over the course of the year. So because of the separation and the opportunities that were presented to me, and the challenge with the vlog, etc., this year hasn't gone to plan, to say the least. But I've salvaged what back in May was looking like a pretty horrendous year. I've just separated from Systems and Outsourcing, although it was done very, very well and very amicably. It left me with this, I put 3 years into this business, then had a massive void. I had my property business, but that's pretty well systemised, so I wasn't operationally involved on the day-to-day. I'm then sitting there thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got nothing to do now. And I had big ambitions and goals to achieve. So fortunately, I kind of planned on the go and managed to forge this new kind of opportunities for myself. But that's not ideal, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would much rather have a year where I've planned it accordingly. I know what my year-end goals are. I know what my quarterly targets are, and I'm reviewing them weekly. And come the end of the year, I'm giving myself a pat on the back because we've achieved everything we set out to. over the course of the year. And I think if you get it right, you can then kind of perfect it and make it consistently right for future planning of years ahead. So I follow a mantra called the 12-week year, and it's a really nice, easy way of planning effectively. It's quite a simple process, and super high level. You know, what you have to do is you have to start with as with any planning or goal setting, what is the end game? What's the end goal or the end milestone? I call them milestones pure and simply because I always set a new one when I get there. Whereas a goal sounds too kind of terminal, too much like it's got an end in mind, and I don't believe in endings. I keep going until I can no longer go anymore. That's kind of how I look at things. So what's the end milestone? This might be 10 years down the line, it might be 20, it might be 3, right? So when you know what your end milestone is, you reverse engineer it back. So you visualize what that business looks like for starters at that stage in as much detail as possible, and you then reverse engineer it back to, you know, it might be 5 years, 3 years, but ultimately you get to 1 year, because you're looking at 1 year ahead. I think getting too granular further ahead than 1 year is notoriously challenging. Getting it right for 1 year is hard enough. So where do you want to be as a business at the end of the year? You set those kind of milestones you want to achieve, and then you reverse engineer them into quarters. So, you know, quarter depends how you work. If you follow the financial year, the first kind of quarter of the calendar year will be quarter 4 of the previous year, if that makes sense. But either way, I always like working in calendar years, even though for tax reasons we follow the financial year. So that's just for ease of example. Quarter 1 is January to April, okay? Just for ease of example in this instance. So I'm going to be planning basically this week and a little bit of maybe early next of what my goals are going to be for next year. And I'll pull the whole team into meetings to kind of help with the planning, to kind of, it's really worthwhile getting opinions of everybody in your team. Is this achievable? We're pushing too hard, because you've got to remember it's got to be in line with your company's culture and the values you've set for the working environment. But ultimately I'll be doing planning for the back end of this week and some of next, and I will subconsciously be doing it over the Christmas period. Even though I'm downing tools, I'll be thinking about it in the back of my mind. I will be switching off, but there'll be periods where I'm showering or running. Well, this will be mulling through my mind, and come the beginning of the year, I'll be able to present my plans in that first week with my team, and it'll be, right, these are the yearly goals, this is quarter 1's targets, okay? And then the 12-week year, in 13 weeks is a quarter, so basically 12 weeks, and then you have a planning week at the end, just before you start the next quarter. So the first 12 weeks, you're then reverse engineering that quarterly goal into weekly chunks, and you're almost mapping it out in a timeline format. Now, don't get caught up in this too much, because ultimately there'll be situations where you have to move it and tweak it, and that's absolutely fine, but you've got to have a plan to start with to be able to do. So it will be dynamic, and at the end of each week you're almost looking at your weekly tactics that you've assigned to team members, and you're ticking them off, and then you're almost grading yourself with a score. So what percentage of the task we set ourselves to complete this week did we achieve? And the aim is to kind of stay above 80 to 85% is kind of where you want to be. If you're at that level, it's highly likely you'll achieve your goals at the end of the year. So that's kind of how you break it down and how you monitor and track it. And it doesn't have to be super overly engineered with the planning. I mean, we use Asana project management software, but I just have a project for each goal, and then each goal is then broken down into sections, and if it's time specific, I'll put deadlines on it based on time. I'll then map it out into a timeline so I can see what's due and when. And the beauty of it is you can move things along, move things back and forth the timeline if you miss deadlines and etc. So it's quite nice and easy to dynamically manage. So that's what kind of I use. I would always say you shouldn't have any more than 3 to 7 projects or goals for each quarter and for the end of the year. It's always 3 to 7 seems to be what's quoted. Any more is too overwhelming. any less is probably not enough, or you haven't broken that big goal down enough. So what it might be your mission is X, and then you break your mission down into kind of subsections, and each of those subsections may be a milestone you're aiming for, and then break that subsection down into kind of quarterly chunks, which you then break down into weekly chunks. And there will be some times where you have nothing to do for a given project for that week. That's fine, as long as it's in line with what you're trying to achieve by the end of the year. So there's quite a lot of information I've given you in this video, and I've kind of gone quite deep on the kind of 12-week year kind of model, so you can understand it. But the most important thing here is that do it in advance. You don't want to be getting back on the first week of Jan and then doing this. You want to start January with a clear picture. So you really want to be planning now. I know that this is going out on New Year's Eve, so you've probably only got 4 days before the working week begins again. But if you haven't already got your plans in place, at least have the draft plan. So the first day back, you can pull your team into a meeting and go through what your plans are. You know, tweak and iterate them based on feedback from the team, agree them, and then crack on and get off to a really good start. And let's hope we don't get any COVID the end is in sight. Let's hope that's the case, but it might not be. So you also want to plan, have some contingencies in there as well, in case COVID does have a huge impact again on your livelihood and business. So contingency planning is important as well. But that's pretty much it for me today. So I hope you found it useful. As always, if you've got any questions, drop me a comment. In fact, before I leave you, I'm going to try and summarise this episode. It's quite right. Point number 1 when it comes to planning: do it before the year kicks off. Okay, really, really important. Number 2, you want to work out what the end goal or milestone is. Reverse engineer it back to 1 year ahead. Reverse engineer it to quarters, and then reverse engineer it to weekly targets. And that's how executing a plan can work super effectively. Number 3, if you've got team members, they should be part of the planning process. They should be the one also giving their feedback, advice and steer on things as well. So really, really important to do that. And number 4, tweaking and iterating a dynamic plan is completely acceptable. So that's absolutely fine, and you should be doing that on a week-by-week basis. And number 5, aim for an 85% completion rate of your weekly tasks that you've assigned out to your team or you've assigned to yourself. If you get close to that, you'll be well on track to achieving your goals for the year ahead. So all I have to say is that if you've got any questions on this, drop me a comment and I'll respond. Morning. I'll respond to everyone. If it's a bigger topic, I'll still respond, but I'll potentially do a vlog episode and tag you in. And if it's not for you, absolutely no drama, just unfollow. But before you do go, make sure you subscribe to the Runpreneur YouTube channel, whereby all these episodes are catalogued nice and neatly by playlist. So hopefully there'll be a topic in there that's relevant to you, and you can dip in and out of it on an ad hoc basis. It's a completely free resource in the future. Also, make sure you join the Facebook Runpreneur community group, whereby all the free resources that accompany this vlog are hosted. We've just launched our first one, which is our 70-step process to social media content repurposing. It's the exact same checklist that we go through for these vlog episodes, where they're repurposed in different forms across all of the social platforms. So if that's of interest to you, get in the Facebook group and make sure you pick that up. It's completely free. And all that's left is that the Runpreneur vlog was set up to help entrepreneurs, business owners, overcome the emotions of stress, anxiety and overwhelm by using exercise, and in this instance running, as a mechanism to control, manage and thrive under these emotions that every single entrepreneur and business owner experiences. The difference between success and failure can be how that entrepreneur deals with these emotions. The ones that do it well have it under control, have a release mechanism to manage these emotions, and they thrive under the pressure and go on to bigger and better things. The ones that don't have a release mechanism struggle because everything bottlenecks on them, pressure builds and builds and builds, and inevitably something breaks. Unfortunately, that's usually either the entrepreneur or the business. In either case, it's normally terminal to the likelihood of your business lasting the test of time. Now, I've been there. I've had numerous business partnership failures. I've lost businesses because of my inability to manage these emotions, and it's horrible. You get depressed, you get anxious. It's a really, really dark place. And I struggle more than most with what I call entrepreneurial pride, where you bottle everything up, you want to deal with it all yourself, and you have no mechanism to release that pressure and speak to others. So my pledge to you is, I've been there. I now have a process for how I kind of release my pressures and my emotions, and running in this vlog is my way. But if you are somebody struggling with entrepreneurial pride and need some help, you feel you've got nowhere to turn, drop me a message. There's absolutely no catch here. I'll jump on a quick call with you and I'll try and give you some guidance on how you can implement some pretty easy things to do into your daily life that hopefully make a monumental difference and get you back on the pathway to success. So don't struggle with entrepreneurial pride. Just take the leap of faith. There's no catch whatsoever here. I'm not selling anything, because I always said that if this vlog just helps just one entrepreneur or one business or saves one business, it's been 1,000,000% worthwhile. Okay, so that's it for me today. As always, if you like this video, please give it a like and a subscribe. If you want to watch more similar content, please check out the playlist link below. And I'll end, as always, with stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.